3 Lincoln pennies. 3 different years. And one hidden mint mistake could separate ordinary pocket change from a coin worth over $200,000. Check the date, mint mark, metal, and weight carefully, because we're starting with the 1964 D penny. Millions of 1964 D Lincoln cents were produced, passed through countless hands, and disappeared into jars, drawers, and old collections. Most are still ordinary pennies. But during the minting process, one misplaced punch, incorrect blank, or dramatic striking failure could create a coin unlike almost every other example from that year. Our first coin is the 1964 D Lincoln 1-cent penny. A regular circulated example does not automatically carry a major premium. To enter a potential value range from $110,000 to more than $217,000, the coin would need an extremely rare, spectacular, and professionally authenticated mint error. Begin with the obverse. Abraham Lincoln faces right in the center. "In God We Trust" appears above his portrait, "Liberty" is positioned behind him, and the date 1964 appears in front of his chest. Directly beneath the date is the letter D, identifying the Denver Mint. This mint mark deserves careful inspection because mint marks were punched into working dies individually during this period. If the first punch was misplaced and corrected with another impression, traces of the original position could remain. This is known as a repunched mint mark. Under magnification, look for an additional curve, notch, or part of another D extending beyond the main mint mark. The secondary impression should have a shape consistent with the original punch. Do not confuse this with damage. A hit near the mint mark can push metal sideways and create an extra-looking edge. Machine doubling may also leave a flat, shelf-like impression. A genuine repunched mint mark normally shows evidence created within the die itself. Next, study the date. Check the 1, 9, 6, and 4 for visible separation or rounded secondary images. Examine "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" as well. A true double die is produced before the coin is struck, when the working die receives misaligned impressions during its creation. Every coin struck from that die can carry the same doubling. Machine doubling occurs during the strike and usually appears flat or scraped. It is much more common and generally far less desirable. Now inspect Lincoln's portrait. Look closely at his hair, ear, eye, jaw, bow tie, coat, and shoulder. Raised lines may indicate cracks in the die. A crack appears elevated because metal flowed into a fracture during striking. A scratch normally cuts below the surface. Turn the coin over. The reverse features the Lincoln Memorial. Above it are "United States of America" and "E Pluribus Unum." The words "1 cent" appear below. On sharply struck examples, the small seated figure of Lincoln can be seen between the central columns. Inspect the memorial's roof, columns, steps, and lettering. Look for genuine doubling, missing details, raised cracks, or unusual impressions. Grease or debris can fill part of a die and prevent the design from transferring completely. This may cause letters, columns, or sections of the memorial to appear weak or missing. A minor weak letter usually does not create extraordinary value. A dramatic struck through error involving a large portion of the design may be more collectible. Now check the cents position on the blank. A normal coin should have an even rim around both sides. If the blank was incorrectly positioned, part of the design may be missing while an unstruck crescent remains visible. This is an off-center strike. A slight misalignment normally brings limited interest. A dramatic off-center strike that retains the date and Denver Mint mark is far more desirable. A double strike can be even more impressive. If the cent remained in the striking chamber after the first blow, it could receive another strike in a different position. This might create 2 Lincoln portraits, repeated dates, overlapping memorials, or a badly distorted shape. Real double strikes show strong mint pressure and natural movement of metal. A coin flattened in machinery after circulation is damaged, not double struck. Now perform the most important physical test: weigh the penny. A normal 1964 D cent should weigh approximately 3.11 grams. It is composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, measures around 19 millimeters, and has a plain edge. Use a digital scale accurate to 1/100th of a gram. Make sure the scale reads 0 and weigh the coin several times. A small difference may result from wear, dirt, corrosion, or scale inaccuracy. But a major difference could suggest that the cent was struck on the wrong planchet. Imagine Lincoln cent dies striking a blank intended for a dime, foreign coin, or another denomination. The finished coin could be too small, too thin, unusually colored, or significantly lighter than 3.11 grams. Part of the design might be missing because the incorrect blank could not hold the entire cent design. If the coin weighs more than the official standard, that could also indicate an unusually thick or incorrect planchet. Weight alone does not prove an error. The diameter, thickness, composition, edge, and strike must support the same conclusion. Never scrape, file, drill, or apply chemicals to test the metal. You should also inspect the coin for a clipped planchet. This error occurs when the blank is improperly cut from the metal strip. A genuine clip may leave a curved section missing and cause weakness in the design opposite the clipped area. A coin cut after leaving the mint usually shows rough edges, tool marks, or bent metal. Another possibility is a broadstrike. The retaining collar normally controls the coin's diameter during striking. If the collar fails, the metal can spread outward, producing a wider, flatter cent with an abnormal edge. A partial collar error may create a stepped appearance around part of the edge. Condition also matters. Look for original red or red-brown color, sharp hair details, complete memorial columns, and minimal contact marks. High-grade examples are more desirable, but condition alone does not create a value above $110,000. Never clean the coin. Polishing removes original surface texture and leaves permanent hairline scratches. Now consider the potential range from $110,000 to more than $217,000. A normal 1964 D cent, a minor repunched mint mark, or ordinary machine doubling would not justify such amounts. The coin would likely need to be a unique or nearly unique major error, possibly struck on an incorrect planchet, dramatically multiple struck, produced with an unexpected composition, or displaying an exceptional combination of mint mistakes. Professional authentication would be essential. Hold any suspicious coin only by its edge. Record its exact weight, measure its diameter, photograph both sides and the edge, and protect it inside a non-PVC holder. Most 1964 D pennies will remain common. But the correct combination of weight, metal, mint mark, and strike could reveal a coin that deserves serious attention. Keep your magnifying glass ready, because our second coin may hide its most valuable clue in an entirely different part of the design. A tiny Denver mint mark could expose a penny error potentially valued at more than $227,390. Our second coin is the 1979 D Lincoln 1-cent penny. Billions were produced, which means ordinary examples are extremely common. But high production also created countless opportunities for worn dies, misplaced mint marks, striking problems, and rare planchet mistakes. The date 1979 and the letter D alone do not make this coin valuable. To justify a potential price above $227,390, the penny would need an extraordinary, possibly unique mint error that has been professionally authenticated. A regular circulated coin, minor doubling, or simple damage would never reach that level. Begin with the obverse. Abraham Lincoln faces right in the center. "In God We Trust" appears above his portrait, Liberty is positioned behind him, and the date 1979 appears near his chest. Directly beneath the date is the Denver mint mark. During this period, mint marks were punched into individual working dies. If a mint employee first punched the D in the wrong position and then corrected it, part of the earlier impression could remain visible. This is called a repunched mint mark. Use a magnifying glass to examine the inside and outer edges of the D. Look for a second curve, notch, or partial impression extending from the main mint mark. A genuine repunched mint mark should show a shape consistent with another letter, D. Do not mistake a random hit for a rare variety. Circulation damage can push metal around a mint mark and create bumps or false outlines. Machine doubling may also produce flat, shelf-like edges. These are generally less desirable than true die-produced varieties. Now inspect the date. Study the 1, 9, 7, and final 9. Look for rounded secondary images, visible separation, or small notches around the numbers. Check Liberty and In God We Trust for the same characteristics. A genuine double die begins during the preparation of the die, before coins are struck. Because the doubling exists on the die, multiple coins can show the same repeated features. Machine doubling happens during the strike and usually looks flat, narrow, or scraped. Next, examine Lincoln's portrait. Look closely at his hair, forehead, ear, eye, jaw, bow tie, and coat. Raised lines crossing the portrait may indicate die cracks. A die crack appears raised because metal flows into a fracture in the die. A normal scratch usually cuts into the coin and appears recessed. Now turn the penny over. The reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial. Above it are United States of America and E pluribus unum. The denomination 1 cent appears below. Examine the roof, columns, steps, lettering, and the small central statue of Lincoln. Look for doubling, missing letters, raised lines, unusual impressions, or areas where the design appears weak. Grease, cloth, wire, or another object can come between the die and the blank during striking. This creates a struck-through error. A grease-filled die may cause letters, columns, or part of the memorial to appear weak or completely missing. Minor weakness is common and normally carries limited value. A dramatic struck-through error affecting a large portion of the coin may be much more collectible. Now check the centering. A normal penny should show an even rim around the design. If the blank entered the press incorrectly, part of Lincoln or the memorial may be missing while a blank crescent remains visible. This is an off-center strike. Small shifts usually have modest collector interest. A dramatic off-center strike that still preserves the date and Denver Mint mark is far more desirable. A double strike can create an even more spectacular appearance. If the coin failed to leave the striking chamber after the first blow, it could receive another strike in a different position. This may create two Lincoln portraits, repeated dates, overlapping memorials, or a distorted shape. A genuine double strike displays strong mint pressure and natural metal movement. A penny flattened by machinery or struck with tools after circulation is simply damaged. Now perform the most important physical test, weigh the coin. A normal 1979 D Lincoln cent should weigh approximately 3.11 grams. It measures about 19 millimeters, has a plain edge, and is made primarily from copper. Use a digital scale capable of reading hundredths of a gram. Place it on a stable surface, make sure it reads 0, and weigh the coin several times. If the penny weighs considerably more or less than 3.11 grams, it could indicate a wrong planchet, unusual thickness, or another manufacturing anomaly. A small difference can result from wear, corrosion, dirt, or scale inaccuracy. Weight alone does not prove an error. The diameter, thickness, color, edge, and completeness of the design must support the same conclusion. Imagine that Lincoln cent dies struck a blank intended for a dime or another denomination. The finished coin could be smaller, lighter, thinner, or made from a different metal. Part of the design might be missing because the incorrect blank could not hold the complete penny design. A wrong planchet strike is one of the few possibilities that could create an exceptionally valuable 1979 D cent. Always compare the suspicious coin with a normal example. Look at the color and edge. A copper cent should not show the exposed gray zinc core commonly seen on later plated zinc pennies. But never scrape, cut, drill, or apply chemicals to test the composition. Destructive testing can ruin a genuine rarity. Also inspect the coin for a clipped planchet. This error occurs when the blank is improperly cut from the metal strip before striking. A genuine clip may have a curved missing section and weakness in the design directly opposite it. A penny cut after leaving the mint often shows rough metal, filing marks, or an unnatural edge. Another possibility is a broadstrike. The retaining collar normally controls the penny's diameter. If the collar fails, the metal can spread outward, producing a wider, flatter coin with an abnormal edge. A partial collar strike may create a step around part of the edge, sometimes called a railroad rim. Condition remains important. Look for original red or red-brown color, sharp details, clean fields, and minimal contact marks. But condition alone cannot transform an ordinary 1979 D penny into a $227,390 coin. Never clean or polish it. Cleaning removes the original surface, creates fine scratches, and reduces collector interest. Now consider the claimed price above $227,390. A regular 1979 D cent does not reach this value. Neither does minor machine doubling, common discoloration, or an ordinary damaged mint mark. The coin would likely need to be a spectacular wrong-planchet strike, dramatic multiple strike, unexpected metal composition, or another nearly unique combination of mint errors. Professional certification would be essential. If you find a suspicious example, hold it by the edge, record its exact weight, measure its diameter, photograph both sides and the edge, and place it in a non-PVC holder. Do not clean it or spend it. And keep watching, because our third and final coin may carry an error that is even easier to overlook. The 1994 Lincoln penny is easy to ignore. Billions were produced, countless examples still appear in change, and most people would never imagine that one could deserve serious collector attention. But when a penny leaves the United States Mint with the wrong weight, an incomplete copper coating, or a dramatic striking failure, its value can change completely. Our third and final coin is the 1994 Lincoln 1-cent penny. A normal circulated example is common and does not automatically carry a major premium. To enter a potential range from $44,000 to more than $103,000, the coin would need an exceptional, extremely rare, and professionally authenticated mint error. Begin with the obverse. Abraham Lincoln faces right in the center. "In God We Trust" appears above his portrait, "Liberty" is placed behind him, and the date 1994 appears in front of his chest. A regular Philadelphia example has no mint mark beneath the date. If your coin carries a D, it was produced at the Denver Mint and represents a different issue. Start by examining the date carefully. Study the 1, both numbers, 9, and the final, 4. Look for rounded secondary images, visible separation, or small notches around the digits. Examine "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" for the same characteristics. A genuine double die begins during the die-making process. Because the doubling exists on the die itself, coins struck from that die can show repeated design details. Machine doubling is different. It normally appears flat, shelf-like, or scraped along one side of the letters and numbers. Circulation damage can also push metal sideways and create a false doubled appearance. Now inspect Lincoln's portrait. Look closely at his hair, forehead, ear, eye, jaw, bow tie, coat, and shoulder. Raised lines crossing the design may indicate cracks in the die. A die crack appears above the coin's surface because metal flowed into a fracture in the die during striking. A normal scratch usually cuts into the surface and appears recessed. Now turn the penny over. The reverse features the Lincoln Memorial. United States of America and E pluribus unum appear above it, while 1 cent is positioned below. Inspect the roof, columns, steps, lettering, and the small seated figure of Lincoln visible between the central columns on sharply struck examples. Look for clear doubling, missing letters, raised cracks, unusual impressions, or large areas where the design appears weak. A struck-through error can occur when grease, cloth, wire, or another object comes between the die and the planchet. Part of the memorial or lettering may appear missing, weak, or impressed with an unusual shape. A minor weak letter usually has limited value. A dramatic struck-through error affecting a large portion of the coin can be much more interesting. Now examine the penny's copper coating. The 1994 cent has a zinc core covered by a thin layer of copper. Because of this construction, several plating-related problems can appear. Small bubbles, blisters, dark spots, exposed gray zinc, and peeling copper are commonly associated with environmental damage or plating problems. Many are interesting to examine, but not every bubble is a valuable mint error. A more dramatic missing plating error could leave a large area of the coin with an unusual gray appearance. However, the surface must be examined carefully to determine whether the copper layer was absent during production or removed after circulation. Do not scrape the coin to test it. Now check whether the design is centered. A normal penny should show a reasonably even rim around both sides. If the blank entered the press incorrectly, part of Lincoln or the memorial may be missing while an unstruck crescent remains visible. This is an off-center strike. A tiny shift usually has modest collector interest. A dramatic off-center penny that still shows the complete date is generally more desirable because the coin remains identifiable. A double strike can be even more spectacular. If the penny remained in the striking chamber after the first blow, it could receive another strike in a different position. This may create repeated dates, two Lincoln profiles, overlapping memorials, or a distorted outer shape. A genuine double strike shows strong mint pressure and natural movement of metal. A penny flattened by machinery or deliberately struck with tools is damaged, not double struck. Now perform the most important physical test: weigh the coin. A normal 1994 Lincoln cent should weigh approximately 2.50 grams, measure about 19 millimeters, and have a plain edge. Use a digital scale accurate to 1/100th of a gram. Place it on a stable surface, make sure it reads 0, and weigh the penny more than once. If the coin weighs significantly more or less than 2.50 grams, it may deserve further investigation. A slightly low reading can result from circulation wear, corrosion, missing plating, or scale inaccuracy. A small difference does not automatically prove a rare error. But a major weight difference, combined with an unusual diameter, thickness, color, or incomplete design, could indicate a wrong planchet. Imagine Lincoln cent dies striking a blank intended for another denomination or a foreign coin. The finished piece could be too small, too heavy, too light, or made from an unexpected metal. Part of the design might be missing because the incorrect blank could not hold the complete penny design. If the coin weighs more than the official standard, it could also suggest an unusually thick planchet or a blank made for another coin. This possibility must be confirmed by examining the composition, diameter, edge, and strike. Never drill, file, cut, or apply chemicals to test the metal. Also inspect the penny for a clipped planchet. This error forms when the blank is improperly cut from the metal strip before striking. A genuine clip may leave a curved section missing and cause weakness in the design directly opposite that area. A penny cut after leaving the mint often shows rough metal, filing marks, or an unnatural edge. Another possibility is a broadstrike. The retaining collar normally controls the penny's diameter during striking. If the collar fails to engage, the metal may spread outward, producing a wider and flatter coin. A partial collar error can create a step around one section of the edge, sometimes described as a railroad rim. Condition also matters. Look for original red color, strong Lincoln details, sharp memorial columns, clean fields, and minimal contact marks. However, high condition alone would not explain a value between $44,000 and $103,000. Never clean or polish the penny. Cleaning removes the original surface, creates fine scratches, and can reduce collector demand. Now consider that extraordinary price range. A regular 1994 cent, common plating bubble, minor machine doubling, or damaged coin does not reach those figures. The penny would likely need to be a spectacular wrong-planchet strike, dramatic multiple strike, highly unusual missing plating error, unexpected composition, or another nearly unique combination of mint mistakes. Professional authentication would be essential before making any value claim. If you find a suspicious 1994 penny, hold it only by the edge. Record its exact weight, measure its diameter, photograph both sides and the entire edge, and place it inside a non-PVC holder. These 3 Lincoln pennies prove that the year alone does not create value. The real clues are found in the weight, metal, strike, mint mark, condition, and authenticity. Subscribe, activate notifications, and tell us in the comments which of these 3 pennies you found. Most will remain ordinary, but the right mint mistake could turn one forgotten cent into a discovery worth protecting.